Pop, 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 pass the popcorn, 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 pass the popcorn.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarsinski, and this is Pass the Popcorn, where we're joined by the coolest film lovers we know to talk about movies that are either so bad or so good. We can't wait to talk about them either way. Today, I'm joined by my long-lost friend and fellow film person, Tim Brayton. Hello.
I'm confused how I'm a long-lost friend. I've been here this whole time.
I feel like it's been 18 and a half years since I've talked to you.
I don't think this is our first podcast of 2024. Is it?
Are you
it might
sure?
be. I don't think it is.
I think it might be. I don't know. I think it is. I think we did something towards the end of the year, but it feels like many weeks ago. And maybe it's just that life has been so bananas and out of control that it feels like I talked to you 18 years ago, but really it was maybe only 2 to 3 weeks, but it still feels
I feel like we already wished our listeners a happy new year, but if we didn't, Happy New Year. Happy February, which is like a new year. The cold of January has been replaced by the cold and wet of February. So it's a new beginning, a new start.
Yay. Yeah, thankfully here in the Midwest, due to global changes in climate, we're experiencing some balmy 45 to 47 degree days.
It has been very pleasant, actually.
It has.
By the standards of February.
It has. And I want to tell you, Tim, right now, I know you said that I shouldn't be anxious and overwhelmed, but you need some context. Right now, my emotions are at an all-time sensitive. I just got off 7 seconds ago.
Are you going through the change?
Probably. So you shouldn't joke about that. I actually Googled that recently. But anyway, I don't think that I am, but I just got off of a movie that I cannot wait to talk to you about, but I have been sobbing for at least 18 minutes. And then to see you, I was already preparing to sob because I had missed you so much. And then you have something before me that is making me want to cry even more.
I feel like it is entirely possible that those of you listening just heard a very strange sort of car engine noise in my microphone. It was no such thing as that. It was the purr of a 16-week-old kitten.
Oh my gosh.
It's not something I spread very far. Those of you who are on the Discord, I think, would have heard this fact, but not terribly long after Thanksgiving, one of my 2 cats, 3 years old, very, very suddenly passed of a congenital heart condition. Very shocking, but thankfully not very lingering. And, it's been a couple hard months. January and December were low points in my life, I don't mind saying. But I'm beginning to regroup and restart. And part of that process has been to invite a very aggressive and feisty little fellow into my house who may or may not make it impossible for me to record this episode. We'll see how it goes.
It's okay. So it's more important to me that this fellow, because again, I don't know name and gender yet, and I'm going to make all these sorts of guesses soon, knocks things over. I feel like they're the priority in the show, and if it messes with our audio, so be it. I think that's
Sounds
where
good,
I'm at right now.
I'm glad you're giving me permission in advance for that to happen and for it to be charming when it does.
I mean, for listeners, probably not. It'll probably percolate their, what's that thing when you have sensitive ears? Misophonia? Is that what it's called?
Oh, sure.
So this will be awful for all you misophoniacs. But again, right now, the kitty's taking priority. And so I'm guessing, is it a little boy?
It's a little boy. So the cat that I still have, because as I said, one of my cats passed, but his brother remains with me, was a male, and every single thing I read said, if you have a neutered male, get another neutered male if you want to try and even slightly facilitate the process of the two of them moving in together and having it be a smooth thing. So I was only looking at kittens, was only looking at male kittens, and here we are.
And so let me guess his name.
You'll have to guess a very long time.
Is it Robert?
I have not yet settled on a name.
Oh.
He came from the foster parents with the name Salem because he is a black cat.
Yep.
I don't believe I'll be keeping Salem. He has a little whiteness sort of on his chest area, which makes it look sort of like he's a black cat with a white bow tie.
Sure.
So I'm kind of kicking around, maybe giving him the name of some sort of 30s movie star type. Astaire is on the list. I think, given his violent proclivities, Cagney might be on the list. So we're working on that.
What about Jerry?
Jerry is a person's name.
Oh, but isn't Jerry the name of the cat? Also the cat that has a little white spot from Looney Tunes?
You are making my brain explode right now. Jerry is the mouse in the Tom and Jerry cartoons, which are not Looney Tunes.
No, it's not. But the cat is named Tom. Have you thought about Tom? Now that you just said that.
Tom feels
weird,
bad for two reasons. One, very generic name for a cat. Two, I have a relative named Tom, and that would just be
and you don't like that guy.
Complex.
So
it would be complex to name an animal after someone I'm related to.
Yeah, we know you don't like any of your family, so we'll work on that. We're going to wordsmith this. So in the comments of this episode, please drop all of your suggestions as far as what this cat should be named. I'll tell you, he is quite cute, quite small from what I can see from the Zoom, and looks quite feisty and lovey at the same time.
Lots of energy, lots of cuddle energy. So if you can think of someone who is both a lover and a fighter, but is not Errol Flynn, because I'm also not going to name my cat after a rapist.
Yeah, you don't want that.
That would be my preference to avoid if possible.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am so happy and so excited and emotionally overwhelmed all at the same time. You told me you had good news for me. I'm assuming this was the good news.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Definitely.
Oh, okay.
No other news to report. I continue to hope that I get a job. The job has not yet said no.
Okay.
So it's a maybe until they do.
Yeah, that's how you have to look at it. Everything's a maybe until you hear a final no. So I did think it was going to be job related, but honestly, I'm much more excited that it's feline related.
There's very little that's more exciting than cat.
I know. Well, I can maybe top you on something that's slightly more exciting.
Only if you got a third dog.
I didn't.
Then you cannot top me.
But I do. What if I said I had a third person in the house that smells like a dog because they're rotting in front of me? What if I said that?
Did you kill Rob and are weekend at Bernie's-ing his corpse?
This is 95% true. Everything you said is 95% true. So, Rob, as you know, takes on many things. And over the course of the last couple of years, due to a lot of the things he's taken on, I've also taken on a lot of probably like maybe additional stress, I'd say. Additional ailments along the way. And so, Tim, we're just getting back from LA. We were there last week for the screening of one of Rob's films. And I'm not going to lie, it was really stressful, I would say. It was very overwhelming for me personally as a person who had no skin in the game for any of it to go a certain way, but I felt residual overwhelm. And yet Rob just has this constant I'm fine attitude. Like all these things kept going wrong. Like things were missing, things were delayed, things were off. People couldn't make it. Like all of this stuff happened. And he was just like so perky and happy and fine. I was like, man, are you sure you're okay? Some of this stuff's really stressful. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And he goes to like lift his like arm to like scratch his face with one of the particular stresses. And I was like, you got a little something on your side there. He's like, what do you mean? He lifts up his shirt and his whole side, this is after the event, is covered in splotches, I would say. Little splotches. And I had no idea what it was at first. And then I don't know what dawned on me, but when I was a kid, I used to go to the nursing home all the time with my mom because my mom's best friend was my mom was like 40 and her best friend was 80 when I was a kid. And so we used to go to the nursing home all the time to visit her best friend. And I was like, these are starting to look a little familiar from something I used to see in the nursing home. I was like, Rob, I think you might have shingles.
Oh. Oh no.
He's like, no, I'm 40 years old. People don't get shingles until you're much older. Goes to the doctor. Sure enough, dude is imploding from the inside out currently.
I was wondering if you were going to say he had cellulitis, which was going to blow my mind because my father had cellulitis over Christmas.
No, he probably has that too, but they've primarily diagnosed it as shingles, which is meant for people that are 80 and over. But they're like,
Right.
Are you under extreme stress? He's like, well, yeah, I don't think so. So I beg to differ. I think he might be internalizing some of the stresses.
He is internalizing it, and it is literally trying to rip its way out of his body.
It's clawing himself out. Like I was expecting that little like alien from, was it?
Alien?
No. Yeah. Spaceballs? No, the one with the little top hat.
Well, that's the parody of the alien from Alien.
So Spaceballs. I was expecting him to like jump out with a little top hat and start dancing around because it is gross. Like I don't want to tell you this. I wouldn't tell Rob this, but you don't want shingles, man. It is really
I don't
really,
want shingles. You're correct.
really
I knew
gross.
that.
Yeah. So,
I'm going to have to move this microphone. The cat is leaning on it, and it will be just a fucking nuclear war in the ears of our listeners if I leave it there.
I think that's true. And the way that he's going after the cord, I feel like you're just dangling a piece of yarn in front of his face. And
I was warned by the foster that he is a cord chewing type of kitty, and that's great given the amount of AV in my life. There will be so many cords for him to play with.
What about, I'm just throwing it out there, Chewy? What about the name Chewy?
I mean, Chewy is the name of the website from which I will be ordering his food, which will also potentially make it complicated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm gonna keep noodling on this, but nevertheless, riding the high too of we went out this past weekend to LA to screen The Fort, which is a short film that Rob's been working on with a bunch of really awesome folks. And I'm gonna tell you, nothing really beats the energy of people that are creative. People that are like excited and creative and like energized.
Oh no, film people are a gas. I love being around them very much.
It is really hard to come back to reality after something like that, though, I would say. Like you go back to your corporate, your office job, your whatever, where people are like, did you get the Excel spreadsheet polished up for the Friday meeting? And it's really, really hard to get excited about that.
I don't suppose it took a trip to Los Angeles to make that true, but yes, I would imagine so.
It made it more true.
It made it worse.
It did. It did make it
Meanwhile, I feel like we buried the lead. How are the shingles?
Oh, sure, for sure.
Is your husband dead?
Yeah, I think on the left side of his body he is, but frankly, he's actually ambidextrous, so I feel like the right side is still really functional. He's still moving around, but he's not 100% great. He just keeps, again, smiling right on through all of these disasters, which...
Well, I'll say, terrible. Rob, when you edit this audio, keep in mind that keeping your stress bottled up actually makes your stress more physically impactful. So the more you pretend not to be bothered by shingles, the worse your shingles will be, which will be very funny by the time that you're just like gritting your teeth and sweating like an anime character because you're pretending that the shingles aren't bad when they basically turned you into a head in a jar.
The head in the jar is factual. He's just kind of a walking head around and just kind of limps around the house. But yeah, I'm going to tell him that because he right now is in the stage where he's in denial and he is just making roof jokes. Like anybody that reaches out to him, he's like, oh, I got enough shingles to make a roof over your head.
Yep. No, I see the shape of it. It is a bad joke, but I like bad jokes, so I don't know really what to do with it.
I don't either.
In some ways, it's the best joke Rob has ever made.
In some ways. But I'll tell him we're thinking about him. He's doing the best he can, but he came home even more invigorated, obviously, from, again, seeing all these people and everybody that's so excited about all these projects. So they had people from like, what's that show? Showtime or Is Showtime?
Showtime is a network, not a show.
So yeah, there was somebody from Showtime that was there checking it out. Somebody was there from Netflix. They had somebody there from HBO. They were all checking it out. It was all very
so it was that kind of screening.
Yeah. So they yeah, it was very cool. And I didn't know who anybody was except for people who I knew in advance. So we had friends of the show there, friends of Alternate Ending. Caleb and Eric were there. Which was just awesome to see familiar faces. And then there were a bunch of actors and actresses from across all the different projects he has in the works now. And then there was a couple that was there, which I think I embarrassed myself. I'm really curious about what you would do in the situation. So let's pretend for a moment. Do you remember that guy from the movie with the butts? Remember the movie?
Yes.
And you love that movie with the other side of the wind.
Oh, yes, Other Side of the Wind.
Who's that guy?
Orson Welles.
Let's say you ran into Orson Welles and you were in a theater and you were screening a short film, okay? And let's say you sat down next to Orson Welles accidentally. Just kind of, you weren't 100% sure who he was, okay? Let's just pretend that happened to you. Then let's say you get up and you realize that it's Orson Welles. What do you do? What's your game? How do you what do you do in this situation?
I am led to believe that celebrities don't appreciate being identified as famous when they're out in the world.
Okay.
So I probably try to stay cool and maybe just nod at him and quickly put a hat over my throbbing heart on and walk away. Let the record show Carrie had to shove herself away from the microphone to avoid laughing into it.
I didn't expect that. I thought maybe you would play it cool. I thought that might be your strategy, but
I am playing it cool. I'm just also trying not to show how immediately sexually aroused I am by being in the presence of Orson Welles.
That's fair. I almost had that same experience. So there was a dude that was there who I knew who he was. I'm going to be honest. I knew who he was, but then I panicked and I think I overcorrected and completely pretended that I had no idea who he was. So
did you just loudly say for no reason, you know who sucks dick is Brad Pitt? I hope that guy gets hit by a bus.
Yeah, he's
just
so
Brad Pitt
ugly.
Wouldn't know that you were sitting next to him the whole time.
Yeah. I want to be like, Brad Pitt is so ugly. And then when I looked over and saw it's him, I'd be like, oh, I didn't recognize you in person or something like that.
Brad Pitt, more like sad shit.
Sad shit. More like, ew. Yeah, that's almost what happened actually too. So I'm sitting next to this guy and I knew him from, have you ever watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
A couple episodes. I know the show.
Okay, so he plays.
Were you sitting next to Danny DeVito?
Oh my gosh, no. But if I was, I would have made it even weirder. That would have been fantastic. Oh my gosh. Anyway, now I'm even more nervous. No, I was sitting next to he's the gay, they're brothers but they're gay for each other. His name's
Right.
Liam.
I forget which one is the gay one.
I think they're both gay because they're
are they?
in a relationship together, right?
Oh.
They're brothers.
I don't know. I don't watch the show.
Oh, okay. So, his name's Liam in the show. In real life, his name's Jimmy Simpson. But
oh, so he's not one of the leads.
No.
Oh, okay.
But that's the thing. This is the only thing I know him from. So I was like, Carrie, don't tell him you know him from It's Always Sunny and that you love that show so much. So that was my plan. Don't be a weirdo. But then it got weirder trying not to be a weirdo because I actually didn't know all the stuff that he was in. So this is the only thing I know. So we're sitting there, we're gabbing, we're talking about Nintendo, we're talking about blowing on the cartridges, and we're talking, I don't even know what we're talking about, but I'm sitting there.
Speaking of blowing on things, I really like hearing It's Always Sunny.
It's so good, remember, with your brother? And so I didn't say that. I still pretended I didn't know him, but then later he was just like, oh yeah, he's like, I'm going to be out of town because I've got to go film this thing in London. And I was like, oh, what are you filming in London? And he was like, oh, it's a show called Black Mirror. And I was like, oh, I'm familiar with Black Mirror. I had no idea he was in Black Mirror. He'd already been in some episodes of that. And then he's like, oh yeah. Once I got home, he didn't say anything else about himself. But when I got home, I was like, oh, damn it. He's in Westworld. He's in the Twilight Zone. He's in the Starling Girl. He's in 8 billion things that are not It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as a side character that I probably should have known. And I left being like, is this embarrassing? Is this embarrassing?
It's not that you didn't know he wasn't in Black Mirror, because Black Mirror is an anthology, which means that there'd be no necessary reason that he would have been in previous episodes of Black Mirror.
That's okay.
Also, it's not embarrassing because he's a TV actor.
I mean, but
that'd be like being embarrassed that you didn't remember the name of the guy who pumped your gas at a quick stop.
And this is why he'll never listen to this episode, and that will be a good thing, because some people like TV, and some people probably knew that he was in all of those things that were at this event, and I was like, you were in one episode of It's Always Sunny that I saw. So anyway, I am certain I embarrassed myself in all the ways that I possibly could have, but at least I don't know all the way about, at least at this point. But I don't know. I need to develop a people strategy, because right now it's not great. It's not great, but
here's what you do. You just ask him to drop his Letterboxd, and if he doesn't have one, you can be like, well, okay. You should get on that.
I should be like, you don't have 1,000 followers on Letterboxd like I do.
just be like, this is my page. Oh, the follower count, I don't even pay attention to it. I
don't care at this point, because honestly, people are just coming direct to my link rather than seeing them out there. So I don't know if that would have impressed him, but either way, he was lovely and nerdy, as you would expect for all actors to be. So I wish you had been there. And he
was talking about the Nintendo, so yes, you'd sort of already confirmed that part of it.
That's true. That's fair. Which, side note, I have one other thing to tell you before I tell you about the movie that just made me cry 7.7 seconds ago. I got to go to Universal Nintendo Land.
You bitch.
I know.
How dare you go there without me?
No, I know.
That is not okay.
I am so much.
That is obviously okay. I wasn't in California. I won't be in California for years from now. Was it the best thing you've ever done in your life?
Honestly, yes. Honestly, it was. You know what? There's all these rankings in my mind, like children, wedding, births. I don't even know, like all of these things. Nothing compared to Super Nintendo World. It was the most epic experience I've ever experienced.
The only thing I want to go to more than I want to go to Super Nintendo World is Ghibli Park, and Ghibli Park is only in Japan, and I don't speak a fragment of the language I would need to be able to go there. So it's Nintendo World. You
will die. You will literally walk in and die. So I'm not like a big video picture person. I just like to let the experience wash over me. I'm not great about thinking about that stuff proactively. I was like a tourist on something where there was really interesting going on. I had my camera out the entire time, just like getting every video pan of every visual stimuli that I could possibly find. And it was epic.
I am insanely jealous.
I know you will be. I know you will be. So this is my push to go. There's literally blocks around there that if you go like punch it underneath it, it dings and you get points. Oh. I know. There's literally Venus flytraps that are like 8 times my size, blowing like fireballs. There are the little things. You remember in 2. So this is in the second one. So Mario 2. Do you remember when they go to Africa, or no, not Africa. They go to Egypt. And remember, like, there's the little snow, like little balls of fire that are like standing on top of each other, and you've got to knock them all down.
The spinies.
The spinies. There's spinies everywhere.
Those spinies are those spikies. They're one of those. No, there's pokies. Those are pokies.
Pokies. There's pokies. There are turtle shells. These are live action turtle shells bouncing back and forth between a tunnel, like what do you call those? A tube, a pipe. I have no words right now. A pipe, and then like bouncing back and forth between a brick and a pipe. Like, I can't even tell you the visual overload that you will experience when you're in there. It's just the most beautiful thing that you can ever experience.
I invested not too long ago in the Lego Super Mario 64 question block set.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much you are familiar with the world of Legos for adults with too much money. I am not an adult with too much money. I'm an adult with not enough money. And yet here I am buying all of these Lego sets that are like specifically marketed to the adult audience, this is a literally age 18 and up Lego set, but it's a Lego of a question block. And when you open the question block, it has little vignettes based on worlds from Super Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
So I started constructing it just yesterday, and I thought I was hot shit because like I'm gonna have a Mario question box and it's gonna have dioramas in it. And now I feel like Ash. Like I feel like I'm gonna see it and I'm just gonna be angry at it that it's boring and lame
Because of my story?
because of your story.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely
so much better than my Lego.
It's so boring compared to what I just experienced. No, I'm not kidding though, but I'm not kidding. You will feel sad when you see it until we go there together and we experience it. We're going to go hand in hand. We're going to go through the tube. We're going to come into the universe that is Nintendo. I bought I'm also like weird about buying things because I'm frugal. Immediately went into the Super Nintendo store and then bought a t-shirt for myself that says 1-up. And then like Rob has another shirt that says like 1-up. Wait, does this say 2-up? I don't know. His says something else. He's lesser than me, whatever he is in the shirt dynamics. But I have the Mario. He's got the Luigi. I bought all the swag that I could possibly find in all the stores that they had there. And then I promise I'm going to talk about movies in a second, but...
Do we need to? Do we care?
No, we don't.
Or do we care about movies at this point?
Let me tell you about the game when you get in there. Okay? Are you ready for this? Just mentally prepare yourself. Okay. So, essentially, it's a moving VR. Okay? So you put on a VR headset. Once you put on the VR headset, you are in the game. But your car is moving. So it's like you're in like Rainbow Road. Your car is activated. Like you have like a pew-pew or, you know, whatever you call that. What do you call that? Like a pew-pew-pew?
A pew-pew will work for this context.
So you've got a pew-pew and you are in charge of getting all of like King Koopa's minions or whatever. So they have like all the bad guys. You're on the good team and you have unlimited shells, basically. And then you're moving through the ride and you're actually playing the game.
You're in a cart.
You're in a cart.
So there's a VR Mario Kart ride.
But you're moving and you're playing the game and you're competing then against your car and the people around you for the most accurate pew-pews.
I'm never going to be happy again.
No.
You've taken away all the joy of birds song in the springtime.
That cat
and laughters of babies and this cat over my shoulder. Nothing will be good until I go to Super Nintendo World.
I feel that for you, and I think it needs to be number one on your bucket list. Like while I was there, I just kept thinking Tim would geek out over this place.
The problem is like I can't sell my partner on this.
Oh, why not?
He's not a gamer.
You don't have to be. I'm not. Do I look like a gamer? I don't even. This is where I peaked. This is the thing. I maxed out.
That's the thing. You peaked at the place where this is targeting your exact nostalgia centers.
I know, but I feel like, did he have Nintendo 64 since he's a little younger?
I think they had a PlayStation 2. I think it was the only machine they ever had.
How is this relationship working? How is it working?
Now that you have asked, now that you've framed it this way, it perhaps is done. Perhaps it is over.
Just text him right now and just let him know.
Like,
it's not
I can't see you again.
Even when I was talking at the screening of The Fort with a couple people, there was an age disparity, and the one person was what you're describing demographic as well, and then the other person was with me, and we were all commiserating about like how amazing it was, and just like the daggers that went to this person who did not get it, like did not understand. They were on the outside of Nintendo. Mm-hmm. It was real. It was palpable that you were excluded if you didn't really understand the original. So
and you were excluded, and you should be.
You should be.
You deserve to be.
So this needs to be at the top of your list. Let me tell you this, though. And then the other thing was we did the studio tour while we were there. And I thought about you the whole time because if you go, again, this is the California version, you need to do the studio tour too, because they took us by your favorite villain's hotel. We went right by Norman Bates's hotel. And his mother's house.
The Psycho Hotel is the one thing that I'm like the studio tour is like actual studio, like tour of the old back lot.
Yes.
Back when it was a real working studio. So like I knew that the Psycho house was there, but.
Yeah, Psycho house is there. And then the Bates Motel is there. There's a Jaws setup that's there. There's still a bunch from Jurassic Park that's there. And then it was really interesting to see, there's a bunch of stuff from Back to the Future, by the way, like a ton of stuff from Back to the Future, which was awesome. Like all the old cars and things like that are there. But what I thought was interesting was to see all these old set pieces from movies that are decades old movies, but then to pull into Jordan Peele's Nope, like that, what do you call it? Like the Western town that movie takes place in is also there. So it's sort of mind bending to just be like, oh, we're basically jumping 50, 60, 70, 80 years in 10 feet, like as you're driving around this place. And then it's like, oh, let's pop over here to A Good Place, which my girls and I, with Abby and Alice and I, loved The Good Place, and we binged that and watched that TV show. So just to sort of just see all the set pieces, and then they've got the really old iconic stuff. Like if you go back to, like the Batman sets and stuff like that, like the old buildings and banks and things like that. Like they've got all of that that's still there too. So again, we were just riding on all kinds of joy. There was just something in it for everybody. So you would, again, this needs to be number one on your bucket list of things you do.
I can't believe you found a way to ruin the day that I got my cat for me.
I'm so sorry. I didn't expect to be a story topper.
He's a good cat. He's my little nameless man.
Still second in my book after Mario. But anyway, wonderful, wonderful time. And I know we have been gone for a few weeks because, again, cats and Universal and Florida. I didn't go to Florida, but I thought about Florida and I went to California.
and I just generally had possibly the worst 2-month span of my life. So it was just kind of tough.
You did, but right now, you know what I'm seeing? I don't know if you can see my hand.
I can see your hand.
It's angling.
You know who can't see your hand? Anyone besides me.
I know, but it is
ever
going
in history.
It is angling upwards because I feel like there's good things coming, and not only good things coming to your life, probably good movies that you've watched, I would say.
I can say 50-50 on the movies that I've watched. I will. That's right. We have a movie podcast. Let me regroup into that. Yeah. So for our worth mentioning this week, I've been trying to catch up with the Oscar nominees. But the two movies that I'm actually bringing to the table are not Oscar nominees. So there you go. One is a 3D documentary about a German sculptor and painter named Anselm Kiefer. The title of the film is Anselm. It is the newest, technically no, it is no longer the newest film by Wim Wenders. It is in fact not even the newest film in the last calendar year from Wim Wenders. So that is one of the films I'll be bringing. The other is the film Origin, which is the newest film from Ava DuVernay, the director, and that is an adaptation of a nonfiction book on sociology. And how does one adapt that into a film? Well, we'll have to talk about that. But yeah, so those are the two I'm going to bring to the table. Spoiler alert, I liked one of them substantially more than I liked the other one.
Okay. I'm excited. I have watched so much house renovation TV, which I won't tell you about. I've also watched so much The Cursed, which is another TV show that I won't tell you about. And then I've watched so many movies, but I don't feel like any of them were memorable in any way that I was like, oh, I'm so excited to tell Tim about this. So I did watch, though, a movie. Again, now it was 7.7 seconds ago. Now we're at like 15.8 seconds ago coming off of this movie. And you're a very boring conversationalist, but I don't think you make time slow down that much. Are you sure? I don't know. Sure. I've been clocking it. This is one I'm cringing already to see if you've already seen. It's a movie from 2015, and it is called McFarland USA. Have you seen this?
I have not seen McFarland USA.
Thank God. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to tell you about that. And then I wanted to talk, I said I had 1.2 movies. My point 2 movie is, have you seen, I'm going to mess it up, but I think, is it called Spitwater? It's
if it is, I have certainly not seen it.
It's this new one. It's kind of like Call Me By Your Name meets The Talented Mr. Ripley. Have you seen this?
Saltburn.
Yes, that feels better than
Spitwater.
I'm so
I want to know what
Salt-
wires crossed in your brain that got you there.
Saltburn. Is that really what it's called?
It's called Saltburn.
Saltburn. Have you seen Saltburn?
I have seen Saltburn.
Okay, then I
Big film with the Zoomers. It's one of the films that I am one of many people who teaches in my friend group. And everyone's notes are basically, boy, the kids sure goddamn love Saltburn, don't they?
Okay, well then I want to talk about that one for point 2 then. So I'm going to bring 1.2 movies, but I think nevertheless, either way, you should start.
It sounds to me like you're bringing 2.
I only saw 1.8%. Or wait, no, 1.8%.
You saw 1/5 of Saltburn.
No, I saw more than that though. I saw 4/5. That's what it was. I saw 80%.
So you were bringing 1.8 movies.
I'm bringing 1.8 movies. That's right.
Okay.
But I only saw that much of it. And so I'm kind of like, how did it end? And I want to go back maybe and finish it. But I want you to tell me if I should finish it because I don't know. I don't know where I was at even when I fell asleep. So I'm gonna find out. There were some things in there. I'm not sure. So, but I want you to start since you've got 2 fully baked movies.
Okay. Well, do you want to hear about the one I liked a lot or the one I did not like very much?
That's tough. Let's start with the one that you did not like very much.
Okay. Well, then that brings us to Ava DuVernay's Origin, an adaptation of the 2020 nonfiction book Caste: The Origin of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. The book is a study of how caste systems manifest in various cultures throughout the world. And I will tip my hand right now and say that I don't think they do. So I think the book is built on rotten foundations. I think it has a confused ideology underpinning it. And the book is an adaptation, as I say, of this nonfiction text, which is a tricky thing to do, maybe potentially an impossible thing to do if you're not making an actual documentary. So what the film ends up being is it is a story about how Isabel Wilkerson wrote the book, like how she encountered the ideas and how she sort of finagled them into book-shaped form. It is a movie starring Angelou Ellis Taylor as the character version of Isabel Wilkerson, and it's sort of a 2.5 hour stroll as this academic writer goes to other academic writers and is like, let's discuss this academic theory. And they're like, let's do that. And then we see like a historical flashback, and then we go back to the present. And then she's like, okay, well, now I've done Germany. So now how about I go to India? And then she goes to India and the cycle repeats. It's not a movie. This is the thing. It's
like
not like,
what do you mean?
Functional as a narrative, because it's not a narrative. We're watching an academic's research trip. And maybe I am extra jaundiced about this because I am an academic. I have a very, very hard time caring. I don't need to see that. It's dull. It's very sort of just confused about what it's trying to communicate, and it's communicating it very hard. There was a kind of notorious little interview that Ava DuVernay gave not that long ago, just a few days ago. It was kind of in response to this film not getting any Oscar nominations. It didn't really have any Oscar heat, but I think there was some sense that it might be able to slip into 1 or 2 categories. I know there was a last-minute push for Angelou Ellis Taylor herself. And basically what she said was, if I'm in a position to make a movie that can be, and I'm paraphrasing and possibly uncharitably, if I can make a movie that has a very clear message but is like not well made, or I can make a movie well but the message won't be clear, I'm obviously going to make a movie with a clear message, and I don't really care if it's like
a mess,
interesting as a cinema. And I hear that and I'm like, that is so utterly contrary to the way I engage with art. And then I watch this movie and I'm like, this sure was made by someone who is more interested in having a message than
Sure.
in making an interesting work of movie.
But isn't that the job then of, because I do think that if you're coming at from an actor's perspective, that's probably the right perspective to have. And then if you're coming at it from a director perspective or like a cinematographer, whatever, like your
Well,
job
this is the director.
Oh, she directed it as well?
Ava DuVernay is the director.
Oh,
So
okay.
Ingenue Ellis-Taylor is the actor, and Ava DuVernay is the director.
Oh, interesting. Because I was going to say, I thought this was Ingenue that had said this. And then I was thinking,
No, this was the director basically saying, I wanted to make this movie not good because I wanted to make sure the message was clear.
Oh.
And I find that to be troubling.
Yeah.
And I watched this movie and it's like, that tracks.
Like, it
This
seems
feels
like that
the
would be
movie I
her
heard
job to
described.
balance both of those things. You know, like, yes, you want to have that, but you still want it to emerge in a way that's like visually appealing and the storytelling's there and all of that stuff too. So
I want that.
Yes.
And you want that. Ava DuVernay appears to not necessarily want that.
I'm
and she
trying
made
to-
me learn that fact for 2 hours and 21 minutes.
I'm looking up her past films just to see if this is a trend or not.
It's not. She's not a bad filmmaker.
Yeah.
She made Selma. She made 13th. She did make the Disney version of A Wrinkle in Time, but that we can't count that.
We can't count
That's
that.
not fair
No,
to
that's
count
not
that
fair
movie.
at all. No. Oh, that one's really low on my list.
You liked that movie less than I did, and I didn't like it.
I know. I don't know why that one bothered me so much, but
Because it's bad.
it is very bad. It is very bad. So you're telling folks, give this one a skip. This is Origin. Give that
I
one
think
a pass.
if you are desperately interested to know what the thesis of the book Cast the Origins of Our Discontents, if you want to know what that thesis is, the book is right there waiting for you. The movie is not the most compelling way to engage with that thesis, and the movie has nothing else. Like,
Yeah.
learning about the content of the book is the only thing the movie has going for it. So the fact that it's not even really very good at doing that, there's just nothing here. There's just nothing here.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, I'm going to pivot, Tim, to a movie that you're going to hate so much, which is why I'm so glad that you haven't
We'll
seen
never
it.
have to know because I'm never going to see
You
it.
will never, ever see this movie. And every second that I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking, Tim would hate this movie. The whole time I'm watching I'm thinking, Tim would hate this. Tim would hate this movie so much. But there's this other side of me.
I don't want that to be how you watch movies, Carrie.
It
I want you to watch movies for you.
Well, I did. As I was weeping, I was in my own head. As I was weeping myself, my mom was crying, my dad was crying, everybody was crying in my entire house for this movie. But I just kept thinking how you would think it was probably like Green Book. And so I was afraid as soon as it was over that you had reviewed it and that I'm going to go read it and that you're going to tell me why I should hate it. And then I'm going to be like, Tim, you're right. I should hate it. But
You don't have to do that. You don't have to read my negative reviews of movies you like.
No, but sometimes you
I'll
change
I'll
my
still be your
mind.
podcast
I
co-host.
know, but sometimes you change my mind. Like sometimes you give me a perspective that I think, oh shoot, I didn't think about that. That is garbage. Like the one that you did for what's the one that you did that to me too with the
I think it was Nomadland.
Yeah, that was the one. And I was like, oh shit, you're right. I'm a terrible person for loving this movie so much. So
that is never my goal.
I
But I'm
know,
glad
but
glad to
so-
hear that I had an influence. on
I
you.
know it's not your goal, but I actually think there's so much value that puts into society because your points were so valid from Nomadland. Your points
Well,
were
thank
like
you.
infinitely valid. And I just thought, gosh, had I had read this review before I had seen it, I would have thought about this movie so differently. And so that's what I
Well-
appreciate
Well,
about it.
do you want me to see McFarland USA and give it
No.
a star review and
No.
then you can praise me for that one too?
No, because this is probably like Nomadland meets like Green Book meets Remember the Titans. It's all movies that you're just like, this is the worst.
I've never seen Remember the Titans.
Oh, you shouldn't. You'll hate it. You'll hate it so much. It's so happy and heartwarming. You'll hate it. So let me tell you about McFarland USA. So let me also back up to say, oh my gosh. I'm still like wiping the dried tears from my face from this movie. We have my parents over probably 3 or 4 times a month to watch
and this
movies.
point we're probably about 26 seconds ago.
What did I say? Oh, 27 seconds ago since I watched it. Tears are still slightly damp, but drying. And Rob is like determined always when my parents come over to find a movie that everybody will love. Like that's just his life's goal. It's always a fail. It's never been successful. But today we had my mom, my dad, my 2 nephews coming over, and then our girls and us. And Rob just came strutting out of the room and he's like, I've got it. Like I've got the best possible movie. So he says, McFarland, are you taking pictures of your cat?
I'm listening.
You're not listening.
I am listening. Rob came strutting into the room and he's like, I've got the best possible movie.
Yeah, I know you're listening, but you're that's a good selfie though. I can see it. That's a good
I was going to send you this picture and then you were going to respond to it in real time on the air, but now maybe I won't. Maybe you'll never see this adorable picture of my sleepy kitty.
I do want to see the picture though, so you can still send it.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna look
keep telling me about how Rob swaggered in like a peacock with this movie that he knew everyone was going to like.
He did. So let me just tell you this. This is, and again, right off the gate, you're going to be scoffing. His name is Jim White. And he moves in after losing his job as a football coach because he was overly aggressive right out of the gate, loses his job as like a head football coach at some hoity-toity high school. And his only opportunity for a job is at this new school where it's an pretty much 99% Hispanic school. And so it's a low income town. It's a school that doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have a lot of funding. And who has to come in? It's Jim White, played by Kevin Costner, has to come in and shake things up a little bit. And will these kids be good at sports? Who knows? Will he start a track team, even though they've never had one before? Who knows? Will they be amazing? I don't know, but you have to watch to find out.
Was Jim White, is this a true story?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Jim White is actually a person's name.
Yes, played by Kevin Costner.
It is not just terrifyingly on the nose.
No, and that's where...
So I was like, because they could have called him Johnny Gringo or something like that.
Anything, no. So yes, it is played by Kevin Costner. This is did I say Kim Costner? Kevin Costner.
You might have said Kim Costner, which,
could've.
you know, if that is where Ms. Costner wishes to take herself going forward, I think we should support that choice.
I'm 100% on board with that. So this is like everything. So you've got my nephews. My nephews are in running, in cross country right now. It's all the track stuff. It's the motivating. It's the perseverance thing. And so like my nephews are so into it. My dad, I mean, it's a rough Kevin Costner. My dad loves like the grumpy, like misunderstood coach guy who like comes out and emerges and ends up being this like saving grace for the team and does all the stuff. Like, give that to my dad any day, and he's going to be pinching his eyes off because he's got tears in there that he doesn't want anyone else to see. So my dad's in. Then you've got the element of the students. So my mom for 36 years taught English to ESL. She taught English as a second language for 36 years. So my mom has always, always, always been like an advocate for these kids. Like she's always been this advocate, and always like, oh, like she kind of feels like she understands these families because she knew their parents and everything. She knows all the details about like, oh, why quinceañeras are important. She always has all these facts that she's always trying to dump on all us from like her teaching experience. So layer this onto my mom now, where this is like basically her experience, but as an English teacher. Like she was the entire movie, she just kept saying, "This is the best movie I've ever seen. This is just the best movie. This is the best movie I've ever seen," like under her breath. So now my heart's full. I'm feeling amazing because everybody in my row, like we're all crying and loving it. And the kids are all cheering. And then as the races are happening, we're all literally just sitting there like screaming in the house, like screaming, clapping, whatever, trying to like root these people to victory from 2015 in this movie. And I'm telling you, I just loved it. It was so, so fun. And it was so good. And I just don't want to know why I shouldn't like it, I guess.
I mean, if you cannot figure out for yourself what might conceivably be troubling about a movie where a character teaches a whole bunch of Hispanic teenagers how to be better students, and his name is literally White, I don't think anything I could tell you will get you to that knowledge.
But again, real name, real story.
I get that.
Real. Okay.
I get that.
I get that.
I'm just
So
saying it is too bad for him that his name is White.
White. I know. I thought maybe he should have changed it, but he didn't. But if you are listening and if you are looking for the best dad movie ever, like best dad movie ever that you could watch, add this to your list. This is McFarland USA from 2015. There's a 100% chance it's going to go over well. No nudity, not even a single kiss in the entire thing.
So your dad and my dad are not interested in the same things.
What was your dad like?
Nudity and kissing.
Oh, so he could hang out with Rob's dad.
I actually have no idea whether he likes nudity in his movies. What sort of come on.
Rob's dad loves nudity in movies.
Nudity in movies is art. It's the most important thing to put in movies.
So have you never watched a nude movie with your dad?
I've watched Eyes Wide Shut with both of my parents.
And how did that go?
Badly.
Badly.
It's Eyes Wide Shut.
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
But you surely know of its reputation.
I don't know anything about it. Is it
It has
Robin
multiple
Williams?
orgies.
It does. I thought it was Robin Williams' movie.
No, it's Tom Cruise, actually.
Oh, interesting. They're commonly confused.
I don't know what Robin Williams movie you're thinking of that has the title Eyes Wide Shut.
Is he in Cloud Atlas? Robin Williams?
That is also not Robin Williams. That is Tom Hanks.
No. Oh man. I'll get there. But so did you do the I'm gonna get up and go to the bathroom when your parents were watching the movie?
I would have had to spend the entire running time in the bathroom if I was gonna do that.
Oh, so awkward. So awkward. If my dad even were to see a side boob, he would immediately leave the room. He would immediately pretend he was going to get a drink and never return. That's like his go-to move. So we can't have any nudity in a movie.
I am sorry for your dad.
I know.
And I'm sorry for you.
He's a unique soul. But again, loved McFarland USA. So get out there and see it. And it's going to be a little different than my explanation of Saltburn, Salty Burn, that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But before we do, Tim, go to the movie that you're going to sell me on that you loved.
I was going to say this is a perfect comparison because you just loved a movie that I'll hate. I loved a movie that you'll hate. So this movie, Anselm, is the story. It's not the story. It is not a story. There's no narrative here. It is about the work of the artist Anselm Kiefer, who was born in Germany in the immediate wake of World War II, as was the film's director, Wim Wenders. They know each other in real life. Wenders, who was one of the major sort of faces in German cinema when it was sort of reborn in the 1970s and became very significant internationally as a new tradition in art cinema. He's spent a lot of his career either directly or sort of sideways exploring what do Germans do about being the country that perpetrated the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. And for Wenders, this is kind of very awkward because he was born directly after the war. So he's in that sort of state where he is personally not remotely involved in any of that, but basically every member of his family probably was. Okay. And every one of his friends' families probably were. So his filmography is kind of littered with these attempts to be our country did a thing that was just beyond description with how evil it was, but we're also sort of still obliged to move forward and be part of the world and just keep functioning. However, are we going to do that? Anselm Kiefer, this artist who works in multiple media, we see both sculptures and paintings he's made, also works sort of with that sort of set of themes, but in a much more in-your-face, provocative, I'm doing this deliberately to upset you, so you have to grapple with why you're upset sort of way. So that's kind of where these two artists are coming from. They are both now men approaching 80. I think they were both born in 45, and this movie was probably shot in 2021 or 2022. And so what it sort of is, it's not so much about that, although that's kind of in the background, and we keep seeing footage from press conferences and old documentaries with Kiefer, the artist, talking about his relationship to history and why he's making these things. But really what the movie is about is just kind of being in the space where this man who is now deep into his 70s is still making art and kind of letting his process of making art roll over us. And then also sometimes we're just going to sort of break away from him altogether and just kind of stroll through the galleries where he's got his art displayed and just look at it and sort of try to discard all of these things we've seen and heard and just kind of appreciate the art as an object. And it's all being done in 3D. And Wenders directed in 2010 or 2011 a movie called Pina, which is a 3D documentary about the late dance choreographer Pina Bausch. And it's all of these people sort of talking about their personal relationships with her. And then we see dances she choreographed being restaged. And that is my favorite 3D movie.
What? Say the name of that. Is Peanut?
Pina, P-I-N-A.
Oh, Pina. Okay.
So that's my favorite 3D movie. Just incredible because what you're basically doing is seeing this art form that's all about like physical objects in the human body moving around in space. And so you actually get to see them moving in three-dimensional space in 3D. So I had very high expectations for Anselm because I was like, well, this is the next 3D documentary made by this director. And it did not disappoint. It's not as good as Pina. It's a little bit more talky. I think it's a little bit more overt in sort of explaining the meaning of the art rather than just letting the art sort of happen in front of us. But also just enormous quantities of this film are basically just, okay, everyone's going to shut up. We're going to play some music and we're just going to kind of walk all the way around this painting so you can sort of see how your perspective on this painting changes as it's moving and sort of twisting in 3D. And it's just a wild experience. I loved it. I've never heard of this artist, Anselm Kiefer, before, but now that I've seen this movie, I feel like he's pretty good at what he does, and I would like to see more of his art. It's just a really remarkable way to sort of experience these gallery spaces and these three-dimensional objects and flat paintings that I will never get to experience in person. So definitely a movie to only see in 3D. I assume at some point in the world it will be available in 2D, but that just kind of seems pointless. So, see it if you can in theaters. I know it's currently making its US tour, and there are those of us who are still clinging like bloody death to our 3D home media, and I suspect this is going to get a 3D release from the Criterion Collection at some point. It is being released by Janus Films, which is Criterion's like best friend. But great 3D movie. Decade after the last time that great 3D movie was even really a thing that I think we were talking about. Like, who cares about 3D anymore in 2023, 2024? And the answer is I do, if it's this good.
Where did you see it, though?
I saw it at the UW Cinematheque.
So they gave you glasses? Like, they had the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. We had the whole glasses. We had the whole 9 yards. Got to sit in some real uncomfy seats and watch very beautiful media. Now, I will say, Carrie, to try and sell you on this.
Yeah.
My partner joined me and some of my geek film grad school friends. The geek friends mostly liked it, not exclusively, but that's to be expected. My partner, who doesn't like art movies and is sort of very surly when I recommend that we watch them, had a blast. He said it was just so cool getting to see this movie that was basically touring these gallery spaces and just like looking at the art there. Now, he does like art. He does like going to art museums. And this is basically the movie version of going to an art museum. Yeah. But he's still pretty normal. He's not he's not like officially a casual moviegoer, but I think he's a casual moviegoer.
And he's not officially a dork either. Like, he's not.
Oh, he likes sci-fi.
Yeah, but he like when
he's a geek, but he's not a dork.
Well, what's the difference between a geek and a dork?
I'd say I am a geek. I am a dork, and he is a geek.
Oh, gosh.
You've met us both.
I see. If I had to do it, I would have said you were both of those things, and that he was kind of cool.
Well, maybe he's just a nerd then.
I think he's a nerd.
Okay, so I'm a dork and a geek, but I'm also, to be fair, a nerd.
You're also a nerd, but I would say he is just a nerd exclusively.
That's fair.
Yes. But that makes me so much more interested in seeing it because
that's why I said this. Now, you might not ever be able to because it had its only Madison screening 2 days ago.
No. Oh, geez. You're kidding.
But it is currently showing at the Music Box in Chicago. So if you're a Chicago listener, and you're listening to this episode pretty close to its premiere airing, whatever we call it, run right out. It's at the Music Box all week.
The Music Box. Okay. And I love the Music Box. That's where I saw Casablanca for the first time.
There you
So
go.
it's a great venue. It's in what neighborhood is that? Is that in Lincoln Park?
It's in Wrigleyville.
Oh, it's in Wrigleyville. Okay. Isn't quite there. Okay. All right. Well, good to know. I like the advocacy there. And that's really all you have to do is tell me that gets his stamp of approval, because I think that he and I are much more aligned as mutual nerds. So
Then you and I are. Yes, definitely.
well,
I can't even get him to watch the 7-hour Hungarian movies. So like, I don't even know. It gets back to the video game thing. Like there is no foundation for this relationship.
I think there is. The fact that he did still see these things is the foundation.
He hasn't seen the Hungarian art film?
No, I'm talking about he just watched this German movie that you just watched. I'm sure he didn't want to watch it. And then
he did. I was jokingly asking him if he wanted to see it, and he said, actually, that sounds good. He doesn't see movies with me.
All right. Well, what would he say right now is his favorite movie of all time, if you asked him?
I don't know that is the way he thinks about movies.
If you were going to, for his birthday, he doesn't own a single DVD in his whole house, and you're like, hey, I want to show you I care about you. What would you buy as a gift for the one Blu-ray he has in his house?
Something ill-advised that would potentially cause him to reevaluate a relationship would be my guess. Probably some sort of like avant-garde queer film that nobody likes other than graduate students. Like, I don't know, Flaming Creatures or something.
Oh my gosh. Get him Mrs. Doubtfire and call it a day. I mean, come on. Get him a good movie. Get him a classic. Like what's the movie I just took? McFarland USA. Go get him that. He'll love it.
I don't think he likes sports movies.
No, he wouldn't. This is running though. It's not really sport. It's just kind of running.
Ooh.
I'm just joking. That was hurtful.
Slam on the runners.
That was hurtful. I'm only saying that because I'm so slow and I really can't run more than 5.0 on the treadmill. So, nevertheless, that I'm excited. Say the title of that one more time.
Anselm. Anselm.
Anselm. Okay. All right. Well, I am intrigued. And if I get down to Chicago, and for those of you that are there, make sure to check it out. And then the last one I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, because I wanted your advice.
Yes.
Was I've pulled it up. I did start the 2-hour and 11-minute version of the movie Saltburn. And like you said, this one is
I am not
rounds.
aware if there being a shorter version, but if there were, it would be better.
I just was trying to give more descriptive detail because that's all that I remember that happened. So I was just trying to act as though I knew more about it. But this is Barry Keoghan? I don't know. He is the guy from the movie with the donkey that dies.
That's right. He is from O Hussar Balthazar.
Oh, gosh. Wait, that's not it, is it?
That's not it.
No, I thought it was like Ishmir.
It's the Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, yeah, the Banshees of Ishmir. That's what it was. He's in that, who I just thought he was so good in that, but now I don't know after seeing this. This also has Jacob Elordi, which the minute it came on, Rob was like, what do you think? Do you think he's a babe? Because he's like, everybody thinks Jacob Elordi is a babe.
I don't. He's tall.
He's tall.
That's what he's got. He is a tall person. He's not, I don't think, very attractive. He's just tall.
So okay. I agree with you. I started off the movie and I was like, Rob, he's not my type. The dark hair, the dark eyes, that's not my type. But I will say I'm a big sucker for personality. And there was something about him. It was working for me. Like midway through, I was like, if he approached me, I'd probably go on a date or two with him. He's pretty cute.
That's fair.
So
okay.
His personality rubbed me the right way. Rosamund Pike is in this. It's just
she sure is. She is clearly the best member of the cast.
She
I think.
is. She's so good. Richard
followed by Richard. Yeah, Richard Grant, the next best member of the cast.
Just outstanding. So I remember that one time that I gave you that edible. And then you almost died. Yeah, you went home and you were like, I needed to be cuddled.
Oh, yes, that's
remember?
right.
And you're like, I had no one to cuddle me. And I got home and needed to be cuddled and no one was there that time.
That's right.
Yeah. So I had one of those before. I had the cuddle gummy before watching this.
Incidentally, I have had those gummies many times since, and I just find them to be very soothing. So I think it was just the first time my body needed to sort of learn how to take it.
So you don't need to be cuddled every time. It's just like
I never need. I prefer not to be.
Oh, interesting. Just the
No.
first time. Okay.
It doesn't matter either way.
All right. Well, you wouldn't turn it down, but anyway. So I was feeling a little just like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? Like I did not know what was going on. And so this movie ends up being about, the best way to describe it if you haven't seen it is like the talented Mr. Ripley is the best way.
But bad.
But so bad. And then it kind of is like meets The Favorite, maybe? Meets Call Me By Your Name. Maybe. I don't know.
That seems like a real mean thing to say about Call Me By Your Name, but I get why you're going there.
I don't know.
Because it has come. It has come.
See, and I didn't see that. I think I fell asleep before that.
The come happens pretty early.
I saw that. I actually did see that. Yes, I did. Now that you're saying that. I just was like, what's happening? I was just not following the relationship dynamics and what was going on. And so I guess my question to you is, I think I was liking it-ish. And then Rob said after I fell asleep, it went a whole bunch of directions that I would never expect. And then his assessment was just like, I think you're probably good. But I've always, with all the hype around this movie, without seeing like the last like probably 45 minutes, I feel compelled to go back, and I need to give it to you to tell me, should I go back and catch the last 45 minutes to an hour of Saltburn?
Well, basically the entire narrative is in the part that you slept through. So there's that. But I will say this. As I said, all of our students love this movie. They're talking it up. It's the big movie for them right now. Absolutely every single one of my grad student friends, including myself, regardless of our tastes, regardless of what sort of like needs we have movies to fulfill, every one of us hates it. Not just like, it wasn't very good. Like, I think this movie has decreased the humanity of our species that it exists. Like, hates this movie.
Tell me why.
Because it's just, it's like the talented Mr. Ripley, but bad. Like, we already have a very good talented Mr. Ripley. Why would we want a very bad talented Mr. Ripley?
So if the talented Mr. Ripley had never been made, would you have liked this movie?
No, because this is still very badly
still
made.
Very bad. Okay.
And it is very long.
It is long.
I think that it has a twist that occurs about 28 minutes before the end, that it expects us to not know what happened basically until the last scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very obvious what happened. So you've got the movie like pretending we don't know what's going on. It's all very confusing. And it's just like, it's just bad. It's badly shot. It's frankly not very well acted. I also agree with you. I've liked Barry Keoghan since before the Banshees of Inisherin. I also liked him in The Killing of Sacred Deer, which I know is one of your favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the Keoghan train, and this movie did make me seriously consider pulling the stop and getting off the Keoghan train because he's not very good in it.
See, well, that's so interesting because I was kind of into the acting, and I don't know, I was kind of into it. It was just kind of like, where is it going to take it? And I never like weird to be weird. Like if you're just trying to be weird for my shock value. I
think it's weird for I think it's trying to be weird to shock you.
And that's
especially
what it felt
towards
like.
The end.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And Rob was like, it just goes places that I think you just wouldn't care
be
for.
Exciting for you. I will say, countering the rest. Do you want to see Barry Keoghan hang dong?
What's a hang dong?
Do you want to see him nude, spinning around and flopping his flaccid penis up and down like a pennant?
I don't want to see that. No.
Well, then that is the only pitch I might have had to get you to return to Saltburn, because you do get to see that for like 3 minutes.
I feel like I might have woken up from my slumber just to see that and then fallen back asleep, because I remember, and you don't have to give a lot of description, but was it more than you expected?
Sure. I think it was a satisfactory amount. I don't think it was like unexpected amount, but it's a satisfactory amount.
I think I woke up for that then, because I think I was like, wow, man, that was for just hanging around. That was more ample than I would have anticipated for a little guy. So Anyway, I think I did wake up for that and see it. So maybe I've seen all the best parts of Saltburn. So
Oh, I didn't say that was one of the best parts. I just said it might be a part you would want to see.
would want to see. And I think no. So I think you've given me all the information I need to know. That is, I'm good. I don't think I need to.
I think you're good. I don't think you need to see this movie. I think it's bad. I think the people who think it's good have a limited frame of reference and are easily shocked.
Okay. Well, that's good. Well, those are the movies that I had for this week. And this has been delightful. I know both of us have had really, really hectic schedules this week and for the last few weeks, but this has made things incrementally better for me. So I'm glad we got to get together.
I am too. It's always a pleasure to ground my reality in chatting movies with you. It is one of the things that feels real in my life.
This is true. And I did want to call out a few little mini announcements. So for those of you that reached out to let us know that our Amazon banner was no longer working on alternateening.com, want to let you know it's not working because Amazon doesn't do those anymore. They don't have banners that you can put on your websites. You have to do something younger and trendier, and they have a new way that we have not yet discovered and probably never will. We'll find out.
My mother will be heartbroken
I know.
every time she buys stuff. She buys it through our site.
I know. Well, we'll never know what health books that she's buying again, but we may figure it out, but that's what it is. So thank you guys all for writing in about that. For Patreon supporters, just want to thank you again for your support and let you know that be on the lookout for a invite for our next movie club meetup, which will be trivia hosted by Brennan.
And also want to give a special shout out to the Patreon supporters expecting full-length reviews, of which I believe I had Carrie promise you all it'll be by the end of January. It would take the death of a loved one and my cat to have it not happen by the end of January. And oops,
I know.
those things happened. So
both of those things did happen.
They will get written. We're not trying to steal money from you.
We aren't.
Get that at this point, it feels like we probably are.
We are always doing the best we can over here, and so we always.
Also, just in general, I would like to promise all of you, I will ever write another movie review. I know it's been over a month.
Oh, since you've written one on the website?
I have not written a review on the website since December.
Well, again, you do have those multiple
January was
situations.
bad. January was very bad.
Tim, I think when you do anything...
I have a kitten now. Life is going to start getting better because now I have a kitten.
And we've had this conversation. I think both of those things are going to lead to that. And when you do anything for 20 years of your life, you are warranted and allowed to have the breaks that you wish.
And it's not like any good movies came out. It's like, oh no, I didn't get to review ISS. The world will never know my feelings on The Beekeeper. So I'm not that upset about it, but also... your patience is continuously appreciated.
Yes,
is what I'm saying.
Everybody is abundantly patient, and we appreciate that because we don't like anything dramatic in any way. Rob has to handle all of that. So we appreciate all of your support. We also appreciate those of you who have gone out and left us a review. Those mean a lot to us. And we always want to thank you for going out and liking us on all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then engaging on alternateening.com. So thank you guys all for joining us this week, and we'll catch you next time.